The Arizona Coyotes not able to take the Vancouver Canucks. That's unfortunate, but it's a back-to-back, so going forward, Seattle Kraken, last time they played each other, it was a pretty good win. We're going to talk about both last night's game and tonight's game on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robin Leonio. That is Carl Pavlik. We want to thank everyone for making Locked On Coyotes your first listen of the day. We are available, free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Excited to be here with you because, well, the Kraken is another game we have coming up. And the last time the Coyotes played the Kraken, Carl, the Coyotes won and got their first win of the season against the Kraken.
Yep.
And it was like, hey, we beat the expansion team.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good thing, especially after the last expansion team, the Vegas Golden Knights, seemed to always beat the Coyotes. The Coyotes got to finally beat up on an expansion team and a historically bad start. It was great to see.
Exactly. But we're going to talk about that game in a little bit later. But we had to first get some house cleaning items, and that is discuss the loss. Not a good loss. 5-1 to the Vancouver Canucks. Just okay. Let's start off a couple of things. First, second period collapse. One of those was contributed to Connor Garland.
Yeah, Connor Garland got his 11th goal of the season. More impressively, I think, Oliver Ekman-Larsson had 3 assists on the night. So good night for former Coyotes players.
Why does it always feel that way?
I mean, we talked about it. Like, these players, they have a lot of pride. They always want to have a good game against their former teams. And the Coyotes are not good this year, so it's pretty easy to have a good game against them.
I guess so. Just look at it. Especially, I mean, I guess it hurts the most. Like, I didn't think, like, I've seen a lot of other players do well against the Coyotes, and it was like, oh yeah, that kind of hurts. But Connor Garland is the one that got me the most.
I mean, let's be fair. Garland hasn't had the best season with the Canucks. He is not even on pace to hit a full 20 goals, which would be a shame for him in his first year with his new team. He's already on the trade block, so I'm happy that he was able to get a goal last night. Hopefully, it kind of boosts his stock and he can get to a team that can actually use him.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm happy for him.
Yeah,
I'm sad for me.
Sports is just that way. And honestly, like, the Coyotes should have been able to overcome that. We saw another second period collapse. I can't even keep track of how many we've seen this season. It's an issue that I do not think there's really a solution at this point. I think it's just the nature of this team. We're going to see second period collapses for the next.
I think even Torrene. I'm sure because I was listening to him either the radio broadcast or watching on the TV. They went to him talking about game plan and something like that. I think he recognized that second periods were a fault on this team. Obviously, he doesn't say he didn't use the term second period collapse like we do, but he recognizes that second periods are a problem.
I mean, it's good that he recognizes that, because that is the first step to addressing it. And we've seen other coaches not be able to recognize that and not be able to properly respond. I do think there is something specific with the second period. I think teams, like, they know what's they need to do. They're making adjustments, and the Coyotes are not making the same adjustments that they need to stay competitive. Um, it's a coaching issue, I think, and it's also a player personnel issue. Let's be real. Um, the team's not good. They don't have the talent to really withstand like a big assault, and they have an accurate view that they're not a good team. So it's easy for them to get stuck in their head. It's all the same things we've been talking about all season.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and mention the last thing I want to mention in terms of like how the Canucks just pretty much destroyed Arizona, and that is the uh, even though like there was no way the Coyotes could have came back from that collapse, but what I call like was the dagger goal, and that was the coast to coast from JT Miller.
Yeah. That was quite a nifty goal. Right after a 4-on-4, so he had plenty of room. Like I think it just expired as he entered the offensive zone. That was definitely dagger in the heart.
Um, Definitely, and I think there was a term I was just looking for on that. Oh yeah, it was more of like if the Coyotes were trying to get any momentum at all, that goal just killed it because they pretty much because we talked about confidence, right?
Yeah,
If there's a goal that's going to absolutely destroy your confidence as a team, it's going to be a player just walking through the defense, going coast to coast and putting it in.
absolutely. Um, and it really doesn't help that it was early on in that period. So like any hopes of getting the two more goals, like you're already back to being down three. That was rough. I want to give credit to the Vancouver penalty kill. I think teams have discovered that the best way to face the Coyotes power play, which is not good, is to be super aggressive against them, and it worked. The Coyotes only had 5 shots on 4 power plays, which is not nearly enough, especially for a team that was, you know, out shooting the Canucks 5-on-5. So I don't know how it didn't translate into successful power play, but credit to the Canucks, who should have the worst penalty kill in the league, just being very aggressive and perfectly countering the Coyotes.
Maybe they took notes of all the other games the Coyotes were playing against some teams with similar style, and they're like, oh, let's not do that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's a good strategy for any teams that are listening. Be very aggressive against the Coyotes, and you'll probably force turnovers. They're not going to have a chance to shoot.
You'll
There's a
draw
down.
penalties.
You'll draw penalties. There's a downside. I think overly aggressive penalty kills, like you're gonna lead to eventually someone finds some room and gets a goal, but that's not gonna happen too much for the Coyotes. So yeah, might as well take your chances.
Absolutely. But 5-1 the final score. So, I mean, I guess we had to give a little bit of credit to the one goal scorer for the Coyotes in Lawson Krause.
Yeah, breaking the shutout. Good for him. I do. Kraus with his 12th goal. He's on pace to set careers highs in goals and points. So I'm fine with that. If Kraus could have a good season, a 20 goal season for the first time in his career, I'm absolutely okay with that.
So, Krause having a good season, Keller having a good season. Like, we
Yeah.
just need to see some more.
Like we've been saying since before the year even started, like the only way to survive this season as a Coyotes fan is to focus on individual success stories. And Kraus is one of them. And if you could do that, you don't have to worry as much about the team being one of the worst in the league.
Yeah. It's just also focus on the future.
Focus on the future. There's a focus on everything but the big picture present.
Yep. Heck, even like even Shane Wright aside, guys. Look at Dylan Gunther, what he's doing right now in the WHL. Look at Josh Doan, what he's doing right now in the NCAA. Like,
Gunther's name came up quite a bit on the TV broadcast last night for a reason. Like the Coyotes, well, They need something to look forward to, and prospects in the developing is definitely an area that they can look forward to.
Exactly. So it's gonna be quite the future for Arizona if they execute everything correctly.
Yep.
But that is gonna be it for talking about the Vancouver Canucks game. We're gonna move ahead. Talk about the Seattle Kraken. The Coyotes just go south of the border from Vancouver to Seattle to visit Seattle and talk about what's going on with them. Again, last time they played each other was a pretty decent matchup. We're gonna talk about that in just a moment, but first, a quick word from Carl.
So I have a message from our friends at Built Bar, and it's that time of the year, and I'm pretty sure that you've all given up on your New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I personally am trying to stick to my resolution to eat right, and that is thanks in large part to Built Bar, because it feels like not really breaking the resolution because you actually enjoy eating them. Um, the Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, including the Built Bar Puffs, which are definitely a new flavor. They're high in protein, low in calories, and it's a good way to replace your current habit of getting a candy bar. If you're looking to eat right, it's becomes really hard as the year goes on just because you have those cravings for taste that you wish you have, and rather than getting like a mint brownie or coconut almond candy bar, white chocolate cookies and cream candy bar, you can get a Built Bar. They have all of those flavors in Built Bar, and they're really delicious. So go to built.com and use our promo code locked15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code locked15 at built.com to enjoy all of the tasty flavors and keep your New Year's resolution going this year.
When you mentioned the puffs, Carl, I got hungry because I
Yeah,
because I've had some of the good puffs. Churro puff
you
out
are
there.
always talking about the churro puff. The puffs, they're really fluffy and protein infused and marshmallowy. So I'm not seeing churro puffs yet, but hopefully they'll be back soon for you.
I'm hoping so. But anyways, let's now get to uh the tonight's game. Arizona Coyotes versus Seattle Kraken at the Climate Pledge Arena. I'm not going to
Horrible
make the
name.
yeah, I'm not going to make the same mistake that was it Gary Bettman when he said Climate Change Arena.
Uh, this year has brought us just a bunch of horrible names for arenas, and Climate Pledge is probably one of the worst.
What would you rather have, Climate Pledge or Crypto.com
Honestly, I hate them both for different reasons. Uh,
or Ball?
I'd prefer Ball. Honestly, over Climate Pledge, which I feel is just needless pandering, and crypto, which is something that I do not like, is a concept.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's get to tonight's game. Um, as I mentioned several times already in this episode, they've already played once before. They were going to play earlier in December. And again, remember, this is one of the rescheduled games from late in December, from pre Christmas break when COVID broke out and ran rampant through the league and all yada, yada, yada. Now we're playing each other for the second time this season. And last time it was a pretty good showing for Arizona. First win, then that Scott Wedgwood came out and showed himself. Obviously, Scott Wedgwood is not on the trip; he is injured.
Nope.
So we're not going to see that again. But we
Uh,
might
I
see a decent game.
yeah. Decent game, hopefully. I did see Craig Morgan tweeted just over 45 minutes ago from when we're recording. Karol Vejmelka will be getting the start tonight in Seattle. I know we talked yesterday about how good it would be to get Prosvetov. I wrote in my preview for Five for Howling, this may be the first time Prosvetov is playing against a team that's not going to go to the playoffs. But nope, Vejmelka's getting the start, which I can understand the logic. I didn't think he had a horrible game, and it's nice to kind of just throw him back in and hopefully get him a win. You want to make sure that your de facto starting goaltender is in the right headspace, and a quick win can do that for him.
Absolutely. So it was. It's going to be. Let's put it this way. Because Vejmelka is in, it's going to be a fun game because we know what Vejmelka can do.
Yeah, yeah. It's honestly like the Vancouver Canucks are a bad team, but they're not that bad. Like the when we were looking at, there was like a reasonable chance they could potentially make a wild card spot. They would need to go on like a really good run, and some of the teams in front of them would need to
They were
falter a
in
little
the
bit.
they were in the middle with it was Vancouver, San Jose, and who else was it? That was right there
Uh,
in the Pacific Division.
it's a pretty tight division. Looks like the Oilers are right
Oilers,
there with.
that's what it was. The
Yeah.
Oilers.
Oilers and the Flames have played fewer games though, so that's why they're gonna need a little bit of luck. But still, they're in the hunt. The Seattle Kraken, on the other hand, are 14 points shy of the Vancouver Canucks, so they are a truly bad team. Uh, Slightly better than the Coyotes, but the Coyotes are actively rebuilding. The Seattle Kraken should not be this bad.
Yeah, the Seattle in the Western Conference, the Seattle Kraken are the second worst team because again, Coyotes are the worst. So 26 points for the Coyotes, 34 points for the Kraken, and again, if we want to talk about league overall, the Montreal Canadiens are at 23 points.
Yeah.
Um, and the New Jersey Devils, which you mentioned earlier, are at 37.
Yeah, so not a good team. This is one of the few games where I think the Coyotes need to come out and have a good game and show what they can do against an opponent that I'm sure is going to be looking to get a little bit of revenge for handing the Coyotes their first win.
Especially in that kind of fashion. Because remember, it like we thought the Kraken were just gonna run over it because the Kraken scored like a goal in like what is it 20 seconds.
It was something crazy like that. The Coyotes had to come back. Let me pull up the box score from
It's
that
because I
game.
think because they started Vejmelka that day, and Vejmelka let two in like a span of a minute,
Yep.
and then immediately after that, it's like, all right, you're done. Wedgwood, you're in, and then the rest was history.
Yeah. Kraken got two goals in the first minute, but the Coyotes were able to cut it in half and get their first 34 seconds later, which just goes to show how the Coyotes can avoid collapsing. Get a goal. Get a goal immediately after, like their opponent score. Have that good next shift, and that's it's unfortunate that they can't do that. They can't have that good next shift. They get stuck in their head too much or something.
It tends to happen, unfortunately. And when you're a young team like the Arizona Coyotes, confidence is going to be an issue sometimes.
But looks like Lawson Krause had two goals in that game. So hey, maybe we can get a big game from Krause again tonight.
I hope so, because again, and always point to last year when you just had terrible luck. Like,
He definitely seems to be adapting well to Bears system. It's funny we talked about maybe Chikrin was benefiting a lot from Tockets. Kraus I think is doing really well in the current system.
and a lot of that, and a lot of that just makes sense, right? You know, you have certain players who work well under certain coaches' systems because that is the way they are. And I'm trying to remember if based off the way Kraus played, if fitting under Tournay's system would have like even just like what's the term for it? looking back at it, if I realized it should have been the best thing for him based off how he played in Tucson, but it's just not. I
Yeah.
can't picture it. It's been a while since he played in Tucson. It's been
Uh,
like 4 years, but
he also, I think, had quite a few roles in the years under Tockett's system. Um, there's always been like this desire to play him with Clayton Keller, which I get. Like it seems like on paper it should fit, and it just never works out really. Um, so I don't know if like how much it was the system, how much it was just like him developing as a player, or the personnel around him. But for whatever reason, things are clicking for Kraus. Heck, maybe he bought a new pair of socks before the season and wears those socks before every game. Athletes are superstitious sometimes. It could be something as simple as that to get him in the
maybe
right
about
headspace.
a different brand of skates
Or stick
or
or
stick
something.
or
I
gloves or something. But
yeah.
or maybe it's him skating alongside Phil the Thrill.
Yeah. Or, just a year full of or an off season full of like training and practice and improving the game. It could be, let's be fair, it's probably a lot of things that are just adding up to a great Lawson Cross year.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, though, we still got more to get to on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're gonna discuss the predictions on this game. But first, before I get into any of that, though, I want to let you guys know that BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the playoffs right to the big game in just under a week. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's not just football. BetOnline has up to the minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live real-time updates on current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2022 season. BetOnline, where the game starts. And speaking of BetOnline, it is time for our Locked On Coyotes picks of the game, powered by our friends at BetOnline.net.
What do we got?
Because we got some fun lines. Arizona Coyotes are 1.5 underdogs. Unfortunately, Carl, they didn't get the favor this time as you were hoping for.
Boo.
Um, Money line plus 198 for the Arizona Coyotes, minus 222 for Seattle. Total points at 5.5.
Hmm. Well, yesterday I predicted, what was it, a 5-3 Coyotes win?
I predicted a 4-3 Coyotes win. I
Yeah,
even
and
said to pick the money line, which was a dumb move.
which
But we both picked the over, so we
yeah.
got that one right.
And I think this is going to be another over game. Um, I think it's going to be tighter. I'm going to steal your score from yesterday, 4-3.
4-3. I'm thinking
Coyotes overtime.
Coyotes overtime. I'm going to go 5-4 Coyotes overtime.
Okay, okay. Um, I feel like this could be a good bounce back game for the Coyotes. And they are going to be ready. They're going to be a little bit tired because they did play yesterday, but they're going to be ready. The Kraken haven't played since last week, so I think they have a bit of an edge in that.
It's the classic rest versus rest question, right?
Yeah,
Or momentum versus tired question, right? It's like oh, you had someone who's just came off a game, or someone who had a week off.
yeah.
Who has the advantage? Um,
And
it's a fun little thing to ponder sometimes, and the answer to that is it depends on how each team prepares.
yeah, if you are like one of those teams that kind of does lots of practice during the break and make sure that your systems are tight, um, or if you're just kind of waiting for people to recover, rest can be great. if you use that time to just kind of get lazy or decompress, or you're the Seattle Kraken, so your team's not going to get the playoffs anyway. So maybe you take a little bit of extra time off, go for some golf, drink a couple of glasses of wine. Then it's maybe hurt you a little bit. And I
Well,
am.
for Seattle, in Seattle case, I think it'd more be coffee than wine.
They're just having those tossed salad and scrambled eggs. But yeah, we've seen plenty of rest situations and you're right. It does depend on the team and how they prepare. I think we're gonna get a rest one from the Kraken.
Exactly. Now, here's the question for you. So we're both picking the over. Now I'm going back to the question I again had yesterday. Are you taking the points or are you taking the money line?
I'm doing points.
You're doing.
I think the over is the best case scenario. Um, I think it's the most likely scenario. I do not trust the Coyotes to actually be on the right side of that over.
Exactly. So, I learned my mistake. Never pick the money line unless I'm 100% confident, which is going to be incredibly rare whenever I'm 100% confident,
Yeah.
unless maybe the next time they play the Montreal Canadiens. Um,
Which
I'm
even
taking,
then, now the Canadians are planning to not get swept by the Coyotes. Like I cannot think of a better motivation.
or how about which team wants to lose more? Because
Eh.
who knows?
Like like we always say, teams don't tank, front offices do. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. But I'm taking the points as well.
okay.
Um, So obviously the that just lowers the chance of winning more because we both have a win in the prediction, but it's a safer bet.
I would agree. And honestly, like this one is like if we don't even know, like there's so many question marks with this team. We are just making assumptions on how Seattle is going to handle a week long rest. That is, a lot of question marks. And I would be a little bit more cautious with your betting today.
Always be cautious with your betting. Remember,
Yeah.
gamble responsibly if you are betting. Because I know people, you get addicted to gambling, it's not fun.
No. Getting addicted to anything is not fun. Getting addicted to something that takes a lot of money is not good at all. So please be careful. Honestly, if you are a Coyotes fan, just you're probably better betting against the Coyotes any night of the week because there's a reason they're expected to finish at the bottom of the standings. They're going to lose a lot of games, but this one seems like one that they could potentially win if things go right.
Let's put it this way. Let me go further in this, and let's say this, Carl. You and I have been pretty freaking good on the over-unders. So if there's anything to learn out of this, just take that part of the advice at the very least.
Yeah, like we are good at picturing whether or not there's going to be high scoring games. We are not good at knowing if the Coyotes offense is going to show up for that high scoring affair, which is really the true question.
I mean, with the Coyotes, how they are this year, it just doesn't surprise us, right?
Yeah, it's very hot and cold. There's streaks where they're doing great. There's streaks where nothing can happen. Uh,
Now
I'm just glad
when
they didn't get shut out.
now when draft odds and a bunch of other kind of odds like that come into place, then maybe we can have a little more fun.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of fun things to happen once the season's over. We're at the halfway part. It's all downhill from here.
It is all downhill from here. Anyways, though, that's it. We're out of time of this episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you're yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, on Twitter at LO_Coyotes, and on Instagram at LockedOnCoyotes. Don't forget to check us personally. I am Robin at Robin_Leonio. Carl Pavlik is at Carl Pavlik FFH. Interact with us. Ask a question you might have. We might answer right back. DM you right back if you DM'd us, or answer those questions on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.